V81 Radio, V81 Radio. V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Our Almighty God, Creator of heaven and earth, Father and lover of our soul, you sit on your throne of mercy and rule with your love and faithfulness. You are full of grace. We acknowledge your presence in our lives. Nothing is hidden in your eyes, even our challenges and struggles in life. We come to you with faith. We ask not only for our daily spiritual bread, but to seek your forgiveness and undeserving favor to heal our land, our family members, our friends and neighbors, even our enemies with COVID-19 and other diseases. Holy Spirit, help us to deepen our faith and see the opportunity to believe, obey, and worship. As we face this pandemic, you are Lord and God. Encourage us and change our hearts, not to fear, but to be full of hope and find ourselves praying and meditating your word. We believe no works of the enemy prosper to your children. Abba, Father, we believe that your Son Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. He is the truth and our salvation. Hear our prayers, O Lord, and most of all, not our will, but thy will be done. We pray this in Jesus' name, the name above all names, who was and is to come. Amen.
Naghahatid saya sa mga Pinoy, mga kanta at programang Tatak Pinoy. Napapanood at napapakinggan kahit saan ka man. Streaming worldwide. In South Manila, this is V81 Radio.
Malayo ka man sa iyong pamilya, dito ay hindi ka nag-iisa. Tiyak ito'y iyong hahanap-hanapin, dahil ito ang nagpapasaya sa atin.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio. Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y magpapakinggan. Oh,
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Dahil mahal mahal namin kayo.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
V81 Radio.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by the host do not necessarily state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the views and opinions of the guests do not reflect those of the host, the show, this station, the management, and the network. Here now is the program for the millennials that will showcase young professionals' worth, aspirations, and successes in doing what they believe is right, progressive, and inclusive. Join them as they discover the path to self and societal fulfillment while making a difference. Hosted by empowered and cool millennial Erika Mison, together with her fellow millennials, they will be making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Good afternoon, everyone. You are now tuned in to Making a Difference. This is a show created to inspire and motivate the youth of today. My name is Erika Mison, and I am your host for Making a Difference. So last Saturday, I had my first anniversary episode. It was a very fun episode. I super enjoyed it. And I invited guests you've seen here on Making a Difference. So I had Streets to Schools on the show. I had Ariza Nokum, who represents Chris for Peace. And of course, I also had Norman Mendoza to represent Life Risks PH. So it was a fun conversation. I'm glad I was able to catch up with them. And if you want to watch that episode, you can watch it on Making a Difference Facebook page, or you can check out V81 Radio Manila's YouTube channel. So all my episodes, starting from season 1, you can find them on those two platforms. So before we begin, I'd like to give a special shout out to Jariel Pomento. She just started her YouTube channel, so you could check her out. She's a singer, and she just posted her first video on YouTube. So congrats, girl, on making your YouTube channel. So again, if you want to listen to her, you can check her out right there. Okay, so before we begin, of course, I'd like to engage with my guests, and we do that by answering the question of the day. So can we flash our question of the day, please? Ayan, there we go. Question of the day. How can you, in your own way, promote environmental protection? Okay, I want to know your thoughts on this. Just in case you guys don't know, it was Earth Day a few days ago. So in commemoration for Earth Day, that's why we're having this special episode. So if you want your your answers to be featured, comment them down below, and I will be reading them at the end of the show. So again, this is the question of the day. In your own way, how can you promote environmental protection? Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you our guest for today. She is a convener and international spokesperson of Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, the Fridays for Future of the Philippines. Let's give a round of virtual applause to Mitzi Jonelle Tan. Hi, Mitzi.
Hi everyone! Thank you so much for having me. Wait lang. Ayusin ko lang pa yung webcam. Hello everyone!
Hi, Mitzi. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Kamusta ka?
I'm okay. Thank you for asking. Pinalig ako doon. I'm okay. Medyo naiinitan lang. Sobrang init na. Summer na dito sa Philippines. So, again, this is Mitzi. She will be our guest. She will be a guest for today. If you have any questions for her, please comment them down below and we'll have Mitzi answer them quick later. Or if you want a shout out also from Mitzi, pwede din. She'll be giving her own personal shout outs later. So, welcome to the show, Mitzi. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And sabi ko nga sa'yo kanina, I feel like I'm gonna learn a lot from you today. And I hope the viewers also learn from you then today. So, before we begin, of course, I always give time for my guests to introduce themselves. So maybe you could share something about yourself to the guests.
Hi everyone. So, wait lang. Hi everyone. So I'm Mitzi Jonelle Tan. I am a climate justice activist from Metro Manila, Philippines, specifically in Marikina. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here because it's always a good opportunity to talk about the climate crisis, to talk about protecting the environment. Kasi I feel like as Filipinos, parang medyo dikit naman tayo sa nature. Sanay tayo sa school na gumagawa ng mga poster making na my hand tas my earth. Tapos mag-reduce, reuse, recycle. Pero it's always good to expand that discussion and to like elevate the discourse para mas makita natin kung ano ba yung mga kailangan natin gawin pa. Because that's what's still missing in a lot of mainstream media.
Yeah, that's true. I believe it's more than the hand, holding the earth and reduce, reuse, recycle. So, are you still studying now?
No, I graduated right before the pandemic, which means, and then I decided to do 1 year of full-time climate activism after the pandemic, and then expand na lang din siya kasi nga pandemic. So right now I am a full-time climate activist.
Wow. Okay. So, curious question. So, what does it mean when you say you are a full-time climate activist? Like, what do you do exactly?
Well, a lot of what YACAP, sige. So my organization YACAP, which is Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, siya nga yung Fridays for Future of the Philippines. So before the pandemic, a lot of what we would do is going to schools, going to classrooms, giving talks, and then yung going from room to room sa ibang universities namin and saying, hello po from the teacher and asking if we can have 5 minutes of their time so that we can talk about the climate crisis. Thus, we invite the students to talk after class at a certain time. So that was before the pandemic. We would also go to a lot of communities to really learn from the people impacted by the climate crisis firsthand, like yung mga fishing communities, yung mga farmers, yung mga workers, sometimes kinakausap rin namin. So, depende sa kung sino yung nasa vicinity na pwede namin puntahan. And then, nag-pandemic. And then we would also organize a lot of global climate strikes. But then the pandemic happened. And so now a lot of what I do is really webinars, interviews. It's not very interesting for Zoom meetings. And I guess that's something that I want people to realize then. Like activism isn't just the strikes and the protests that you're seeing on social media and on media, but a lot of it is organizing behind the scenes, the meetings, talking to people, asking people questions and them asking us questions if they have questions about the climate, and you're really just engaging and having conversations with people so that they join us.
Okay. And how long have you been with YACAP already?
So YACAP started in 2019 and I am actually one of the co-founders. So ever since, yeah.
Okay, so ever since of syempre co-founder. So we have a co-founder here on the show. And so what is YACAP exactly? Like what do you do?
So YACAP is Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines. The reason why we didn't use the name Fridays for Future Philippines is because hindi pa siya kilala when it was starting out here in the Philippines, especially if we go to communities. Parang if you say Fridays for Future, parang ano yun? And then hindi na namin siya ma-translate kasi ano ba yung climate action in Filipino? Parang even if you translate it, hindi din siya super nagbe-make sense.
Yeah.
And and also we like the acronym na YACAP na parang embrace. So, very deliberate yun.
Oh, actually.
And that's what we did. Na a lot of what yung 5 points of unity namin are climate justice, urgency of climate action, youth-led collective action, defend environmental defenders, and system change. So everything we do will always revolve around those five, dependent na lang kung anong season or what's happening in the world then. Like last year, we campaigned against the anti-terror law of 2020 because we saw na since the Philippines is already the second most dangerous country in the world for environmental defenders and activists, this law will make it harder for our freedom of speech then, and it would target all kinds of activism, including climate activism. So we launched this global campaign, and Greta Thunberg, Naomi Klein, Nemo Bassi, Cecile Benitez, who's also a member of YAKAP, all helped like launch this campaign and to really call out yung law na to that's hampering on our democracy.
Okay. So see the Fridays for Future of the Philippines. So sige, I'll help you clarify that. No? That's what we were talking about kanina, no? So you said nga because people are like, ano yung the Fridays for Future? So are you guys the same? Are you like as one? May difference ba?
So we are the same. So yung ginagawa ng Fridays for Future sa other countries, that's what we do here. We hold the global climate strikes, and I'm also part of the Fridays for Future international community. A lot of my work also revolves around making sure that the global youth climate movement, yung narrative niya isn't, because we have to be honest, it really did start na very white, very Eurocentric, and we want to shift that narrative so that it's the voices of the people from the global south, those who are already experiencing the climate crisis, that really get pushed up. Kasi tayo yung nakakilala sa climate emergency kasi we're the ones who've experienced it ourselves. And so we have to make sure na yung narrative, hindi lang siya parang very tokenistic and sad stories and statistics lang tayo. Pero we are people who have really amazing stories of resistance. Yeah. And so we have to highlight that.
Okay, all right. So you personally, like how did you discover that you wanted to pursue this path, or what made you pursue this path that you're on now?
I mean, I've always been very passionate about the environment. Like growing up, after there was, kasi sa Cavite ako lumaki, and at that time, hindi pa ganito ka-develop yung Cavite na, so talagang huge trees all around and forest-like areas yung, tapos, biglang, may isang bagyo, and then, we were stuck at home without electricity for so long, and then we were finally able to go outside. Tapos nakita ko yung the huge trees that I kind of grew up with were all on the floor and like destroyed, and I was crying, and my mom was like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "Nasasaktan yung mundo." And it's so cheesy, pero I feel like that was parang she told me yesterday that was one of the first indications na she really expected me to become like an environmental activist. And then at the same time, like aside from seeing that, I would study in school yung greenhouse gas emissions, yung global warming. Although, kaya siya tumatak sa akin kasi I had a lung problem, like a primary complex. Tapos, sinabi ng teacher na smoking was bad for the environment, for the ozone layer, and for ganyan. And I knew that it's bad for my lungs. So it really imprinted in me, and I was going up to people, going up to the lolos and titos na very strict sa family and taking their cigarette boxes, tapos tinatapon ko sa floor, tapos pinagtatapak-tapak ko at like 5 or 6 years old. Kaya ako nakaget away din kasi bata pa lang. So, and then sinasabi ko na I'm doing this because I care about your health, my health, and the environment, and the greenhouse gas stuff. So I knew both of these, the impacts and the actual climate change. But I never put them both together because the way climate change was taught in school was very Western and foreign and technical and numbers and science and melting ice caps and polar bears. Hindi natin natutunan na yung na-experience natin na typhoons ngayon, yun na pala yun. Like, what we were experiencing in the Philippines is also part of climate change. And so it wasn't much later on, in 2017, when I was able to talk to indigenous leaders, Lumad indigenous leaders from our land. And he told us about how they were protecting the environment, the forests, their ancestral lands, and they were being harassed for it and displaced and militarized. And then so simply he said, that's why we have no choice but to fight back. Kaya kailangan natin lumaban. And then ako parang, oh my gosh, he's right. And then nagbago talaga yung pagtingin ko kasi I had this choice, quote unquote, to become an activist. And there are people who are pushed into activism because the consequences are worse if they don't. And so I said, sino ba ako na hindi ako sasali sa kanila? Na I have this privilege of that choice. I have this privilege na if I don't become an activist, it's fine. Like I can live my life. But there are people who can't. So why should I not join them? And at this point, he's right there. Like it's all of us at risk now. Like all of us are experiencing the throes of the typhoons. All of us are experiencing, and all of us will be impacted by the worst impacts of the climate crisis. So we really have no choice but to be activists at this point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and through Yakap, no, and through Fridays for the Future, how has it helped you? How has it helped you pursue what you're doing now?
Well, without Yakap and without everything, I don't think I would be able to do what I'm doing because hindi siya kaya ng one person alone. Yung going up against this systemic problem kasi the problem of the climate crisis really goes to its roots. It's not just about yung waste natin. It's about fossil fuel industries that are causing the climate crisis that's causing pollution, and that's why nag-iinit yung mundo. And so to solve this systemic problem, this global problem, we need a systemic solution, a global solution then with people across the world and across the Philippines.
Right. Yeah. Agree. So do you have any takeaways or like any experiences that you, let's say, have you ever had that moment in life where, okay, you went through something and then you were just like, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life? You know, have you ever experienced that? Or maybe you could share with us a couple of those experiences.
So first, yung sa 2017 with the Lumad Indigenous leaders,
Yeah.
I remember the setup, I remember his face. He didn't tell us his name. Sa UP siya, sa University of the Philippines. Kasi nag-bakwit sila, nag-evacuate sila, and they needed political refuge. So they went to the University of the Philippines. And since that's where I studied, dumiretso na ako. Okay, here, I'll go there. That was one of them. Another one was because I was may mga protests nun for free education, for free college education. Then sumama yung ibang Lumad students. So sabi nila na they were there in solidarity with us. So parang sila pa yung nagsa-solidarity with us. parang nasaan yung mga students na nagsa-solidarity with them? Parang baliktad. That was another one. And then, iba din talaga yung na-experience mo yung typhoons. Like, I'm sure this is a common memory for everyone na candlelight dinner kasi may bagyo sa labas dahil brown out. Nagbabaha yung bahay, so kailangan mo i-scoop out yung water, yung makikinig ka sa battery-powered na radio para marinig yung mga updates kung kailangan nyo naman mag-evacuate. That's just something that really stuck to me. Yung parang takot as a little child na parang ano na mangyayari. And then naririnig mo sa radio na yung ibang tao na sa rooftop na, pero pinapakinggan nyo kung kailangan nyo na rin mag-evacuate, yung stuff like that.
Yeah, no, pag mga bagyo, ako din eh, tapos wala kang electricity for ilang araw, and yeah, grabe that, how many, yung mga, what's that, Ondoy, yon, yung mga major bagyos natin. Actually, even last year, I mean, it didn't, but last year then, no. Okay, so kamusta naman yung Yakap now that, you know, we're going through a pandemic? I know you mentioned kanina na you would do online talks and stuff, pero how are you guys coping with the new normal?
It was so hard, especially nung una, kasi like, sobrang sanay na on-ground work kami na going to schools, going to classrooms, and meron naman kaming online aspect na nagpo-post ng infographics, ganyan, pero yung majority of our work really was on ground. And then biglang kailangan magbago lahat. Even the platform that we were on. We used to just be on Facebook Messenger, and then ang hirap pala magtrabaho sa Messenger lang. Like,
Yes.
sobrang...
I know. Yes, mahirap siya.
So we had to change platforms. We had to find the platform that worked for us, and then we had to be really creative kasi there was so much information online and everything was so fast-paced na parang ang dali rin kasi i-ignore na lang ng people yung content nyo. So what we made was we did like TikTok songs and TikTok dances. Nung Earth Day last year, meron kaming TikTok song and TikTok dance. And then a lot of webinars, and then naalala ko yung learning curve pa on how to use Zoom. Tapos parang paano ba ito gamitin? and it's so crazy na parang some of the language that you use on Zoom, like, di ba pag mag-agree ka sa Zoom, lalagay mo plus. Tapos ngayon, pag nag-uusap kami in real life, plus, gagano na rin kami. Parang nagbabago na yung language.
See, I don't even know that. Grabe. Is this really the new normal na? No, whereas we speak, plus.
Pero surprisingly, we actually ended up reaching a lot more people during the pandemic kasi since online na nga lahat, there was less barriers. And so before, when we used to be very Metro Manila lang kasi yun yung nandun kaming mga original like founding members. Now we have people in Greater Luzon. Although meron naman kaming mga Batangas man noon. Meron mas madami sa Batangas, and then meron na rin sa Visayas, meron na rin sa Mindanao. So it's really nice to see how it's really becoming a national movement.
Wow, nice, huh? That you guys are also reaching other provinces. That's great. What's the farthest na you've reached? Farthest.
I guess yung sa Mindanao, I don't remember where sa Mindanao sila kasi medyo kalat pa sila, like pa isa-isa.
Okay,
so what we're trying to do now is, kunyari yung Luzon, tatlo na yung parang branches niya. May NCR, tas may Northern Luzon, tas may Southern Luzon, tas Visayas, Mindanao. Pero eventually, we're gonna try to like make that more localized din para mas pagkaya na ng people na nandun. Pero pang ngayon, very spread out pa sila, hindi pa sila nakikita masyado.
Okay. And how did it happen? Did they reach out to you?
Well, I guess our social media reached them somehow. We're not sure how then actually. I guess Twitter, I don't know. And then there's a way to join us on our website, which is yakap.org. And then they just applied, and then wala namang, yan yung website. Wala namang application, like you just fill it out and then someone's gonna talk to you na. Although minsan medyo mabagal, depende sa kung may campaigns kaming nila-launch. But yeah, and Yakap isn't just an organization of individuals, it's also an alliance of organizations. So meron din kaming mga member organizations, which is what makes it so special, I think, kasi you can really see the different perspectives of the organizations. Because we have like Science for the People organizations, we have yung mga mas yung iba ay parang feminist organizations. So you can see na yung approach na tong group na to sa climate crisis, yung iba parang pre-med or bio students. So nakita mo yung approach ng mga feminists sa climate justice issue, iba yung perspective. Tas yung mga from bio students or yung mga animal lovers na perspective, iba yung perspective na ambag nila sa organization. So it's so nice to see how everyone's different perspectives are like coming into this.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea, no? Parang it's nice kasi to collaborate with different organizations eh. Because tama ka, you get to see different perspectives and all. How many pala kayo, when you founded the organization, like how many were you in the beginning and how many are you guys now?
When we started, mas organizations talaga kami. And kaya alliance, kasi we were already doing things together in our organizations. And then we realized na, ba't di na lang tayo gumawa ng alliance? So, it was two organizations, yung unang-una talaga. So, Saribuhay, which means biodiversity. Tapos, Agham Youth. So, Science for the People naman yung ganon. And then, nag-expand yon to like mga 8 more founding organizations talaga. And now I think there are over 10 or 15 organizations. Yung iba kasi sa onboarding process pa lang, so hindi ka alam kung ika-count na sila. And then yung individuals na sa mga 200 something. Yung individuals yung nag-boom talaga during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Kasi I think a lot of people really saw na there is something to do and that we now also have more free time kasi online lahat. So,
Okay, that's cool. Congrats, by the way, on growing. You guys are really reaching different areas. Okay, so we are gonna go on a break for a bit, but when we come back, we're still gonna have Mitzi here, and we're still gonna talk about what she does. So we are gonna be right back after these few announcements.
We'll be back shortly, making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Isang masayang April na naman ang inyong aabangan sa Home Not Alone Season 3 kasama si Papa Gio, Karen Sita, Kelvin Miranda, and Mikey Quintos, Sams David, P6, and Curay. Kaya mag-ready na sa all-out na kwentuhan, kulitan at kantahan this April sa Home Not Alone Season 3 kasama si Papa Gio. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. California time o Thursdays, 10 a.m. Philippine time. Dito lang yan syempre sa V81 Radio, Los Angeles.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I'm a king of rock, there is none higher. Some MCs should call me sire. To own my kingdom, you must choose fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire. Now we rock up on it and come correct. All people on time and rhyme connect. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I'm a king of rock, there is none higher. Some MCs should call me sire. To own my kingdom, you must choose fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire. Now we rock up on it and come correct. All people on time and rhyme connect.
Now back to Making a Difference, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Welcome back to Making a Difference. So if you're just tuning in right now, my name is Erika Mison and you are watching the show created by the youth for the youth. Okay, so before I introduce my guest again, I just want to say hi to a couple of people. Shout out to Seven Pillars Catholic School. That's where my cousin graduated from. Yes, I graduated from there. Hi, Enzo. Hope you're doing okay. I want to say hi also to my frequent viewers. There's Tabao and Bongao. And then, of course, si Kyle. Kyle was also one of my guests then here. Thank you so much, Kyle, for continuing to watch and support Making a Difference. I hope you guys are doing okay. Then we have Chester Kidlat watching from Parañaque. Hello, everyone. Interesting program to look forward every Saturday. Thank you so much for watching, and to everyone else. And I'm seeing all your comments, but we'll read that later on. So the comments are for the question of the day. So if you guys are new here on Making a Difference, I always have a question of the day that you guys could answer, just so that we can engage a little bit, and I could see where you guys are coming from. So can we flash again the question of the day, please? And the question of the day is, in your own little way, how can you yourself promote environmental protection? So again, it doesn't have to be a long answer, but I've been seeing quite a few already. And if you want your comment also to be featured here, just comment them down below wherever you're watching, whether on Facebook or on YouTube. You can comment them, and then we are going to flash them later at the end of the show, and I will personally read them out. So please don't forget to follow Making a Difference on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, and you can also check out V81 Radio Manila's YouTube channel, where all my episodes, you can find them there, and you can also find our other shows there as well. So before the break, we were talking to my guest for today. So I'd like to reintroduce her. For those of you who are just tuning in now, she is an international spokesperson and a co-founder, one of the co-founders of Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, the Fridays for Future of the Philippines. So I'd like to call her back on screen. Please welcome again, Mitzi Jonelle Tan. So yan, there's Mitzi with her pink hair. You're on mute pala, by the way.
Hi, sorry.
Okay lang. Kasi on the post na blue yung hair niya ngayon, pink na siya. Pero bagay sa'yo actually. Parang,
Thank
you
you.
know, oo, bagay sa'yo. Pati yung blue. When I saw your photos, bagay sa kanya, no? Like, she can rock any color na axe. Okay, so, all right. So, before the break, we were talking about Yakap, no, and how you guys are doing now with the new normal. So maybe you could share like experiences, maybe like ano yung mga major differences, or maybe you could share stories na yung mga pre-COVID days nyo compared to yung mga new normal days nyo.
So, nung pre-COVID days, what we would do is, yun nga, going to schools, going to classrooms, and nag-start na rin na yung schools yung nag-request ng talk sa amin, which was really nice kasi nung una talaga nag-school to school kami with letters and going, hello po, pwede mo ba kami mag-offer ng talk para mas matutunan ng people yung climate crisis. And then at some point, nag-start na yung people were starting to realize the importance, and they were contacting us. And then biglang, nag-start pa lang yung Yakap, biglang nag-online lahat, na-pause lahat, parang, okay, now what? What do we do now? And so we launched into the online campaigning, and we would do webinars, and we would do this. And one thing that we were still looking for, kasi nga before the pandemic, sobrang sanay kami na pupunta kami sa communities, as we're gonna learn from the farmers mismo or the fishing communities mismo about what they're experiencing. So nung nag-start yung COVID pandemic, nakita din namin yung economic hardships ng lockdown sa mga fishing communities, for example. So we did relief operations for our fishing communities. And when we went there, we learned about their campaigns na rin, what they were fighting for. Kasi may mga reclamation projects that were cutting down mangroves, which are also bad for the environment. And so we learned from them what they were seeing. And then last year din, nung nag-start yung mga bagyo nung November, nagsunod-sunod kami na relief operations kasi talagang malala yung mga experiences ng people, and we would learn from them, we would talk to them. Pero tuloy yung mga pag-organize namin ng Global Climate Strike, although nung before na sobrang, nasa hundreds kami, like 600, almost 700, 400 people, tapos biglang nung nag-lockdown, okay, 10 people, 15 people max, sobrang depende sa limits nung time ng COVID, like kung ECQ ba, kung GCQ, ganyan. And then iba kasi parang nung una, Zoom protest. Parang anong itsura ng protest sa Zoom, di ba? Like, pero ayun, we had to learn how to do it. Alam mo yung nag-adapt talaga kung paano ba, para matuloy lang yung Yung campaigning for climate justice.
Okay. And you personally, I know a lot of us, we've learned new skills during this lockdown. Yung mga, ano ba naging uso? Yung coffee, dalgona coffee yon. And then, yung mga people are becoming more organized. You can see the way yung room transformations. Pero, how about you? Have you learned any new skill? It can be like personal or pwede din sa as yakap, no? During this whole lockdown period.
Yung room organizing, ginawa ko rin yun. Nag-room transformation din ako. Kasi parang, dito ka lagi. So, kailangan gusto mo yung surroundings mo. Kaya, for, I don't know, I think it's also for like your mental health because you're always here. Learning how to use Zoom and yung mga pag-live stream, all of that. I had to learn how to make graphics. Although medyo marunong naman ako before the pandemic. Pero ngayon na kailangan minsan biglaan. Sige, walang ibang ready. Okay, gagawa ako ng graphics, gagawa ako ng pub for social media. Ano pa ba? Like, I think some of it, kunyari like painting, I used to do it a lot and then naging busy. Pero ngayon, I was able to go back to it. So that was really nice. Ako, matagal na akong like nagpa-plants talaga. Pero si mommy naman, natuto siya mag-garden din. So ngayon meron kaming mga tomatoes, mga eggplants, mga lettuce. So pag gutom ako, minsan lalabas lang ako. Tapos kukuha ako ng lettuce. So, lagi ko ng mayonnaise. Tapos kakain ako. So, nakatuwa.
Oo.
And natuto ako magluto. Yun yung one thing talaga na
Girl, same tayo. Same tayo. No, you know, it's so funny because my parents also parang may mini, ano na sila, parang naging farmers. They're watching me na baka mamaya. Anyway, but the same then, we have yung mga eggplants. I know we have calamansi also. Yung mga ganyan. Grabe, and yes, natuto na din ako magluto somehow.
ako rin.
Finally. May go-to dish ka na ba?
Yung thing is, yung naging go-to dishes ko, and was mga spaghetti, ganyan. Natuto ako mag-spaghetti, mag-adobo. Tapos, nag-shift kami to pescatarianism, so hindi na kami nagmi-meat for environmental reasons din.
Okay.
So, kailangan ko matuto ulit kung paano magluto kasi yung go-to dishes ko. Although yung adobo medyo kaya, like replace ko lang yung meat with like tofu. Pero, hirap pa rin.
Try mo yung tofu with eggplant.
Ooh, hindi ko pa na-try. Wait lang, si mami kumapasok sa room ko.
Alam mo, tita. May pagkain.
Bibigyan niya ako ng merienda.
Okay.
Merienda time. Hindi niya alam naman.
Okay, it's fine. Pero hello sa mommy mo. With, ano yung binigay niya sa'yo? Baka pwede man.
Watermelon shake.
Kasi ang init naman na talaga.
Ang init. Kaya niya ako binigyan.
Sobrang init. Pero yeah, going back, naging ano na, no, parang cooking show. Cooking. Try mo yung tofu and egg. Saan ko sa'yo? Specialty yun ng mom ko eh. Super, yeah. But, okay. Wait, so pescatarian, so that means diba? Parang fish pwede.
Seafood
Yeah.
lang.
Seafood.
So, wala ng beef and pork.
Right.
And chicken.
Oo. Okay, madali lang yan. Okay lang. Okay, sorry, nag-sideline kami. But anyway, may mga how do you see, okay, medyo serious tong question na to. How do you see our environment now here in the Philippines? And may na-foresee ka na on what's gonna happen in the future? Maybe, you know what, you can also share na rin yung what you want to see then, you know, in the future. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? Diba? Because may reason naman talaga yun eh. So, the floor is yours.
I mean, we're seeing now, diba, yung mga bagyo, palakas ng palakas, padalas ng padalas. Nagkaroon tayo ng typhoon recently this April, although it didn't hit Metro Manila, it hit Eastern Visayas, I think. And it's the strongest typhoon ever that happened in April. So like, if you compare all the Aprils in the past na typhoons, ito yung one of the strongest. And three strongest storm landfalls in recorded history. So like ever, they all happened in the Philippines. Yolanda is the second. Na-beat actually siya nung Ulysses last year. Siya yung strongest storm landfall nung November.
Mm-mm.
And yun, palala nung palala talaga. And it's not just that, nakikita natin yung Sierra Madre, nag-start na siya makalbo, yung our forests, yung oceans natin na although alam ko mahirap makita kasi nasa bahay tayo lahat, diba? Pero I guess also yung pag-init ng panahon talagang, I mean, I'm sure you remember na as kids, parang hindi naman ganito kainit talaga, diba? Like room temperature before, I remember was 27 degrees Celsius. Tapos ngayon, parang nasa 32, 33 na yung room temperature. So, iba na talaga yung panahon ngayon. And it's not natural. That's what we need to have people understand. Na the worsening impacts of the climate crisis, yung palakas ng bagyo, yung painit ng painit, patagal na droughts. It's not something that just happens. It is being caused by the pollution, mainly by the fossil fuel industries and ng global north countries. And that is the future that we're fighting for. Na we need a future that's just, that's not just for, I guess you can see that the people most impacted by the climate crisis, they're also the ones most impacted by some other socioeconomic crises. So yung mga mas economically marginalized, yung mga women and youth are actually more impacted by the climate crisis than others. And so we have to remember na nagpa-play into each other. Hindi lang siya environmental issue, but really at its core, it's about the people impacted. And the future that I'm fighting for is one that's a better future for everyone, like everyone, and not just the people in power, not just the elite few, but for everyone, especially since a future na hindi na tayo matatakot kung may bagyo. Kasi nakapag-adapt tayo na meron tayong evacuation centers na pang-evacuate talaga, hindi yung mga basketball court, churches, or schools na ginawang evacuation center na binabaha din naman kasi hindi naman talaga siya pang-evacuate ideally. Yung the way we have to develop now is knowing that this is going to get worse and we're already experiencing it. So yung mga plumbing systems natin dapat, di ba, lagi naman nag-construct ng mga water pipeline, lagi, like dito sa Philippines, kaya sobrang traffic lagi. Kung inaayos niyo na rin, ayusin niyo na rin with the thought in mind na mas lalala pa yung mga baha natin. Because that is the future that we are looking at. If patuloy lang yung pollution natin sa mundo, talagang mas lalala pa yung mga bagyo, mas lalala pa yung init. So dapat din, aside from calling out yung mga global north countries na nagpo-pollute, para hindi na sila mag-pollute, para hindi na rin lumala yung experience natin, kailangan rin mag-adapt tayo in a way na alam natin kung alam mong magkakabagyo next month na sobrang lala, tapos yung water dam level mo ay ganito na, dapat i-release mo na. Hindi siya yung i-release mo kapag, kasi ba that happened nung November sa Catanduanes.
Mm-hmm.
Ni-release nila yung dam water levels nung sobra-sobra na, nung puno na. Pero alam naman natin na magkakaroon ng bagyo next week. So they could have done it little by little para hindi ganun kalala yung impact. Pero yeah.
Yeah, it's real. Like it's real. Like parang before, no, it was just something you'd hear, but now I don't know. We see it. I see it. Yeah, tama ka nga. The heat pa nga lang eh. That's already a sign na things are changing. The climate is changing. Environment is greatly affected mo. So it's real. For those of you who are watching, it's real. Talagang totoong talaga. So, given that, no, what are the projects that you've done already with Yakap?
So, yun nga, meron kaming mga talks na binibigay sa mga, nung November, after nung sunod-sunod na bagyo, nagkaroon kami ng parang climate teach-in with the mga nanays ng Marikina, kasi they wanted to know what they could do with and why that's happening to them, bakit sila binabaha ng sobra. And iba talaga yung pag na-empower yung people with education, with knowledge, when people are empowered to know na there's something that they can actually do against this, and it's not just, kasi ang hirap pag ang iniisip mo kalaban mo bagyo, parang wala na ata akong magagawa kung bagyo pero there is a way to stop this. There is a way to make sure that we don't experience more intense climate impacts. And having that knowledge is so important because people are empowered to act after that. People have hope after that. What else have we done is now we're part of this global campaign targeting Standard Chartered Bank, which is a UK bank. Kasi yung bank na to is the one that's funding a lot of the coal companies and this environmentally destructive projects that are owned by these companies in the Philippines. So sila yung largest coal company funder dito sa Philippines. So yung mga coal plants natin sa Pangasinan, sa Batangas, yung etong coal plants na to na nagde-destroy lalo nung environment and push for not just like cutting down mangroves, but also polluting our air when we don't really need it, especially since marami naman tayong possible renewable energy sources. Pwede naman na tayo stop making more coal power plants and start investing in renewable energy. So that's one of the campaigns that we're holding right now. Patuloy pa rin yung pag-push namin din sa climate education, both like in curriculum and in like talking to people and having webinars and dati kung pupunta kami sa communities para makituto, ang mangyayari ngayon is video na lang, tapos sa webinar na lang, sa Zoom na lang siya.
Okay, I see. I was gonna ask you nga how does that work? Kasi you mentioned nga climate education like through curriculum and stuff. So before, pre-COVID, you go talaga to different areas and really teach.
So we would go to saan kami pumunta noon? Sa Cavite, saan sa Cavite? Isang fishing community in Cavite, and then meron din sa may Tondo area. Basila, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So,
and then
how
ngayon,
long?
dun pa rin kami, sorry, go.
Yes, again, go ahead. So now?
Dun pa rin kami pupunta, pero not as much na kasi nga, with the pandemic, kailangan din safe yung everyone. So mas, pag nag-relief operations na lang, sinasabay na lang din namin yung chikahin ng konti, pero hindi yung matagalan na like before kasi nga, hindi din okay yung nagkukumpulan for a long time.
Yeah. So before, like, does it take like one whole day or to do that? Or you stay there for a couple of days?
Depends sa mangyayari. Before the pandemic, since starting out pa lang, it would just be like half a day. Or sometimes kasi, kung yan, nagpipicket sila, yung farmers, pupunta sila sa may Quezon City area. So, dun namin sila bibisitahin, chikahin namin. Before the pandemic, a lot of what we did talaga, yung paikot-ikot is yung sa school. So, umabot ako ng Subic para sa isang talk. Tapos, doon ko na unang na-experience yung point-to-point na bus. Parang okay pala siya.
From your place? Marikina
from SM North.
SM.
Tapos doon Clark, oo. Parang Subic.
Wow, meron na pala. Wow, nice.
So, I mean, to a mall there. Tapos from there, tsaka
yes.
Pero,
yeah, yun.
Okay siya kasi parang convenient naman. And then, yun yung nag-talk din doon. Tapos meron naman from us. Iba yung pumunta, not me. Sa Batangas naman. So, parang talagang sa schools kami. Nagsa-school hopping minsan to talk about the climate.
Okay. So, and ano yung may target ba kayo when it comes to the age? Like, high schoolers or university students?
Usually high school, senior high school, university students. Pero meron na rin kaming, this pandemic, naging talk for grade school parang like lower grade school. So gumawa kami ng slides for that kasi sabi namin, paano natin sasabihin yung carbon dioxide emissions sa mga grade school? So ibang-iba yung kasi may nag-request. So parang okay, sige, gawa tayo. Ibang-iba yung approach namin kasi ang hirap din kapag i-bombard mo sila with carbon dioxide emissions and like, parang iba yung, so iniba namin yung approach ng content. Pero same content, same empowering message na there is something that they can do.
Galing they teach that na rin to grade school students. Kasi parang, when did I learn that? Probably mga high school na Or like, mga grade 6.
Pag yung higher grade school, medyo okay. Pero yung younger talaga, parang
We're not curious ako, how did you guys change the names or like ganun ba or
Sinabi pa rin namin yung names kasi it's important for them to know. Pero yung hindi dun yung focus. Parang it was very visual. There were a lot of drawings. It's more about, having people connect back to nature because I feel like that's something that we've lost. Like that's why farmers and fishing communities and indigenous peoples are our environmental defenders, our frontline defenders, because their culture, their society, their livelihoods are so tied to the environment, and that's something that a lot of us have lost. I think na. I guess now with the pandemic, maybe we're starting to see it again because we're all stuck indoors and we're realizing how much we miss nature and outside, and I think that's why Yakap is also getting more people because people are realizing the importance talaga of having that healthy environment outdoors. And so, ayun. Iba talaga eh. Iba din talaga yung nakakita ka ng trees around you, di ba?
when you see a lot of green, it's different. Like you also need it. And we're rich pa naman in it. I mean, the Philippines, so much natural resources and we need our daily dose of our sun. Then minsan nga I start was this I would there were times I would work outside.
Yeah, ako rin. Kasi, akala ko ako lang. Kasi yung friends ko, tinatawanan nila ako. Sabi nila, Mitzi, naging halaman ka na. Kasi sometimes I would literally just sit down in the sun. Kasi kung hindi, sobrang wala akong energy. Like I really just need to soak in sunlight sometimes. Na parang, okay, and then mag-relax lang. Or minsan din ako mag-work. Tapos, babalik na ako indoors, tapos maliligo. Kasi, iba yung energy na nakukuha mo from the sun, di ba?
Yeah, and it's important. Like, our parents would tell us na, you need to go out for a bit, especially yung morning sun. Diba, lagi nilang sinasabi yun. So, there were a few times before talagang I just, kahit work lang outside kasi you need it eh. So, for those of you who are watching, if you feel like, there's a kulob. I don't know.
Parang low energy.
Yeah, you need sun. So, we're not telling you to go out talaga, but
Diyan lang sa may labas.
you need your sun. So,
Natawa ka dun sa sinabi mong yung parents ang sinasabi lumabas ka. Parang dati sinasabihan tayo na puro ka computer, lumabas ka naman. Tapos ngayon gusto na natin lumabas. Tapos hindi na pwede. Dapat sinulit na natin dati.
totoo yan. Yeah, okay. So, listen to your parents. Because they know. They just know. Okay. Okay. So, for you, what do you think or what do you believe na is important for everyone to know about what we're experiencing now, in terms of climate change? Like, what is that one thing, or maybe there are a couple of things that you would want to share with us?
First, what I've said before, that it isn't natural anymore. This is something that's being caused by humans, and particularly not just any human, pero yung fossil fuel industries and yung global north countries. So fossil fuel industries, that's oil, gas, and coal. So yung mga coal-fire powered bakit ang hirap niya sabihin? Coal power plants. Ayun. Daming P eh. Anyway. So yun yung isa. Another is that there is something that we can do about it. And it is a systemic problem. It can't just be... Individual lifestyle changes are important. So like, kunyari ako, I am moving away from meat kasi yung meat industry natin is one of the... It is a polluter talaga of carbon dioxide. Pero not everyone has that access to those kinds of lifestyle changes. It is hard kasi kunyari ang hirap maghanap ng meat substitutes na dito. Kaya may fish pa rin ako until now. Kasi ang hirap for the Philippines, diba? And kunyari yung plastic crisis na sachet culture, there are people really who can only afford the sachets, and that they're not the reason why we're having this, but like this environmental crisis. So we have to make sure that we don't focus on that. Kasi kunyari, even if you reduce, reuse, recycle at home, kung pansinin nyo, yung mga, not all the cities, but there are a lot of cities na sinasama-sama lang nila sa isang garbage truck. Tapos sa isang dump site. Or kaya, di ba yung iba parang may days na on some days yung ganitong, yung nabubulok lang yung kinukuha nila. On some days yung mga ano. Pero they all go to the same dump site and they all get dumped in the same place. So ganun rin na parang hindi talaga siya enough na individual lifestyle changes pero systemic talaga yung kailangan baguhin. So it can start with you writing letters, although syempre walang in-person class. Pero before, some of the students would write to their schools and some organizations, what they would do is trying to find a way na magkaroon ng compost areas, yung cafeterias ng schools nila. Kasi that will help a lot. Kasi hindi lang siya at home and individual, pero mas malaking thing na rin. And some of them naman yung tinry nilang gawing project ay may solar panels for some of the rooms in the school. So, kunyari, either yung multi-purpose hall nila for the students, itatry nila na kahit hindi lahat ng energy, pero yung lights lang, parang kino-convince nila yung school nila na ito yung gawin nila. And that will help so much na not just at home, not just yung individual, pero yung bigger changes then. And you don't have to do it alone naman. You have your friends with you, your classmates with you. So there are different ways to really contribute to the climate movement.
Right. Agree. Like every move counts, diba? Everything counts. So, okay, we are gonna go again on another break. But when we come back, I see a couple of comments here for Mitzi. So stay tuned because we are gonna ask her that after the break. So see you guys in a bit.
We'll be back shortly, making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I'm the king of rock, there is none higher. Sucker MCs should call me sire. To fuck my kingdom, you must choose fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire. Now we rocked up on it and come correct. All people on time and rock connect. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I'm the king of rock, there is none higher. Sucker MCs should call me sire. To fuck my kingdom, you must choose fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire. Now we rocked up on it and come correct. All people on time and rock connect.
Now back to Making a Difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
All right, welcome back to Making a Difference. So on the show today, I've been talking to a young international spokesperson. No, she is also the co-founder of Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, the Fridays for Future of the Philippines. So we've been talking about what they do and her point of view when it comes to climate change. So actually, I'd like to call her back on because we have a couple of questions for her. Mitzi, are you still there? Mitzi Tan? There we go. Hi, Mitzi. All right. So we have a couple of questions for you. So by the viewers, we have one by Tabawan Bongao. So the question here for Ma'am Mitzi, what is your opinion with regards to the pollution slash damage caused by individuals slash families as compared to the big industries? Garbage from individuals are all over, even in our seas and oceans, even in the Arctic continent, all throughout the globe. We're just talking about that, kind of before the break. So what's your opinion here?
It's definitely not just about the individuals and families because again, not everyone has that privilege to not use the sachets and not use the straws. I will say that if you don't need a plastic straw, don't use it. Pero a lot of it din kasi is, kunyari, may mga companies na I'm not gonna name the company, but there's a company na they sell reusable cups, they sell reusable mugs, and then and then you can use these mugs, tapos ito na lang gamitin mo for your coffee, for your tea, for your drinks.
Okay.
Pero the way that they do inventory is still using the paper cups. Still using the plastic cups. So, tinatapon lang din nila. So, ganun lang rin siya. So, it's really more about the individual and more about the systemic habits and practices. Ayun nga, even if you recycle and segregate your trash at home, idadalin lang din naman siya lahat sa dump site. So, kung kaya niyo mag-compost at home and really just reduce your consumption kung hindi naman kailangan, mas okay din talaga yon. And we have to see the plastic crisis not just as a waste crisis, but as a management crisis. Kung titingnan kasi natin, who is making the plastic? It's actually also the fossil fuel industry. It's also the same people that's causing the climate crisis. It's the same thing. Kasi byproduct yung ginagamit for plastic, it's a byproduct of creating the energy from the oil, from burning the oil. So magkasama talaga siya, and even if we reduce at home, patuloy yung overproduction ng products ng plastic kasi they're still gonna sell it, they're still gonna try to push it out, and there will still be people who need it. There's just this really, really good documentary. It's called The Story of Plastic, and I really recommend people to watch it kasi pinakita din na talagang may mga it's an international documentary, pero yung mga commercials na pinakita na it's Filipino kasi talagang tinatarget ng mga international brands yung Filipino community for these smaller plastic sachet things kasi they know that we need it. So a way to really solve the waste issues, the environmental issues, is to push din na the environmentally friendly products become more accessible. Kasi ang mahal ng mga environmental products, like yung mga organic talaga, yung mga non-plastic, it's expensive. And it's sad that it's expensive because I'm sure a lot of people want to help more. And so we have to remember na if we have that privilege, if kaya natin, we should change. But it's not enough that only the ones with privilege change, because we need everyone to be able to change. And to do that, we have to remove the barriers that's keeping them from being able to do this. And so we need systemic solutions. It's really two things together. Hindi siya magkahiwalay na thing.
Okay, yeah. Right. Agree. Sobrang mahal, no? Like, you want to use these environmental friendly products, but it's expensive. I guess yun pag sa manufacture din, no? It's mahal din. So, yeah. We have another question by Erika Angels. It's my official fan page. So if you guys will follow them. But anyway, will you participate daw sa mga community pantries?
Pinag-uusapan na namin. We're not sure pa kung magsa-set up ng sarili or mag-donate we're gonna buy from the small farmers kasi that's what we did for relief operations. Yung binibigay namin sa mga fishing communities, galing diretso sa farmers. So, probably ganun yung gagawin ngayon. Pinag-uusapan na namin. Especially kasi, I don't know, the community pantries are such a beautiful thing. It really shows the spirit of bayanihan sa Philippines and shows na if we had that infrastructure and support, people are so willing to just help each other out, and we don't need a profit-oriented system na lahat binibenta. People are so ready to just come together as a community. And so if we really make this not just an individual level thing, but we really make our society like this, kitang-kita na kayang-kaya kasi there's that, if there's an opportunity, people will do it. People will help each other.
Right. Super agree. I know I've been seeing a lot of, yun yung in thing nga, diba? Nowadays, it's the community pantries. It's just there to really help each other. No? And that's what we do. That's one trait that I like about us Filipinos. We all come together, and it's that spirit of bayanihan talaga. So thank you for your questions, guys. If you have more questions, keep on coming while I still have Mitzi on. But a question from me naman. Why is it for you? Why is it important to value the conservation of our planet, especially now na we're still going through this global pandemic together?
the thing is, even with the global pandemic happening, hindi naman nagsastop yung environmental destruction. Hindi naman nagsastop yung pag-pollute sa air natin, sa atmosphere natin. So we still have to keep campaigning for it. Kasi the thing about the climate crisis is it isn't just what we're experiencing now, which is a big thing, but that will get worse if the practices that we're seeing continue. So there needs to be a lot of pressure, especially on global north leaders, to really, kasi yung Philippines, mahirap pa naman talaga for us to completely leave yung fossil fuel industries kasi wala pa tayong mga renewable energy sources na set up. But there are countries like the US, in EU, in China, na kaya na nilang umalis na talaga completely sa fossil fuel industries. Pero hindi pa rin nila ginagawa kasi it's more expensive. But they do have the means, like kaya nilang gawin if may political will lang sila. And so we need to really pressure that pa rin. And tayo as Filipinos, we really need to learn how to adapt din. Kasi ang hirap na parang yung early warning, yung mga text na magkakaroon ng bagyo, makukuha mo pag may bagyo na. So, di ba? Like, sobrang late. Or like, kahit, although yung earthquake, hindi siya tied to the climate change. But even yung earthquake alarm systems natin, we'll get it after we get the earthquake. So parang, these things that we know we're experiencing all this, we really need to better our system so that we change it. And it does start at home then, and it starts with educating yourself, knowing how to change things and realizing that we can't do this alone. And there is a way to join people together, especially if you're the youth, pwede kayo sumali sa yakap, pero kahit hindi pa youth, kahit like yung mga older generations, yung mga parents, I'm so grateful that my mom is super supportive. Like, she helps me paint my signs, she helps me paint my banners and stuff like that. And she joins me in protests sometimes. Kasi it's mahirap if you're doing it alone. It's mahirap for kids then if they have to hide it from their parents. And it is really just us fighting for our future and fighting for a better planet. Kasi it really will be worse and worse and worse, especially in the later years of life, for the youth, for the generation of today, if we don't change anything now.
Yeah, agree. And okay, given that, I want to ask the question of the day. Can we flash that ulit, please? Yung question of the day natin. For those of you who haven't answered, you still have time to answer. I will read them at the end of the show. But for Mitzi, ikaw, in your own personal way, how can you promote environmental protection? And may tagtag pa yan for you. What's your message to to the people watching you? Like, how would you encourage these people to to start really taking care of the planet?
So you can promote environmental protection by talking to people. So first, before you talk to people, you have to empower yourself with knowledge. So there's so many resources available online, but it's not just about the science of the climate crisis and carbon dioxide emissions and graphs, but also about the experiences of people today. I know it's hard with the pandemic. Mahirap pumunta sa mga communities. So there are mga videos, there are mga posts online that talk about what they're experiencing, what people are seeing right now with our environment. And so that's something that we really need to learn from, so that we can go back and connect to nature, which I think is really easy for Filipinos because we really, at least for our generation, nakita naman natin yung beautiful trees growing up, although ngayon it's getting less and less, we're having less green spaces. Like, I remember before growing up, my go-to place to hang out was a park. Tas ngayon mall na siya. Like, nawala na sa atin yung mga ganong green spaces. So we really need to have those back. And there are ways to do this. And remember, we cannot do it alone, and we don't have to do it alone. So you don't have to be a perfect environmentalist, kasi we don't need one perfect environmentalist. We need billions, thousands of imperfect environmental activists. So that's my message then to you guys. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid if you don't know everything, because everyone starts there. But have this active effort on your part to learn, to ask questions, to check online. There are so many resources available. And really, I mean, if you were to start somewhere, although medyo heavy starting point, but this is where I started. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change releases a special report every year. So IPCC Special Report 1.5. Baka pwede natin i-flash. I'll write it down para pwede natin i-flash. IPCC
Okay.
Special Report 1.5. That's something that you can start reading. Although, or hanap kayo ng mga summaries niyan. May mga mas magaganda na yung graphics and like mga magagandang posts about it. Yan, check nyo yan. Siya yung Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So those are scientists that are really working on the climate crisis, and yan yung ginagamit ng United Nations sa mga conferences nila about the climate and stuff.
Right. Oh, thank you for sharing this. I'll definitely check that out. Okay. So how can people reach you? Are you guys is Yakap accepting mga volunteers or yung mga partner organizations? Where can they reach out to you guys?
So sa Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, we are at Yaka Philippines. Ay, yung isa pang, yung other one po kuya.
Isa pa.
Yan, okay. We are at Yaka Philippines on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And we have, like, every Friday, we have informational posts about the environment then, so you guys can check that out. And if you want to join us, you can go to yakap.org/join-us. Ayan. So, yan. Ay, nasan yung, ito pala.
Yan. Yes. Hindi ko makuha yan ever. Okay. All right. And then a while ago, no, we also flashed something. Maybe we can flash that again. Yung isa pang link. Sorry, what link was that? There we go.
So right now, my international petition, kasi yung world leaders with President Joe Biden sa US, they are having this leaders summit on climate nung 22 at 23, so tapos na siya. But we have this petition sa Fridays for Future, which is the International Youth Global Climate Movement that started by Greta Thunberg from Sweden. Kilala niyo siya.
Of course.
So, yan yung petition na ginawa ng Fridays for Future youth members. So, please sign it and support it. And there are other ways to like support and share. But kahit tapos na, pwede niyo pa rin gawin yung mga stuff na nasa page na yan.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to say? Baka may mga shout-outs ka dyan before I let you go.
I guess what I want to say last is just, it might be overwhelming to not know where to start, but really just go and start with wherever you feel most comfortable in. And then always just be willing to learn, willing to be open to more conversation, and really see how this isn't just an individual level na problem, but it is a systemic issue, and that's what we have to do. And yun nga, yung story of plastic, it's really, really a good starting point for people na, I think nasa Netflix siya, or nasa online.
Okay.
Like there are places, or there's another one, parang Chasing Coral, Chasing Ice. Those are both on Netflix. They're really good environmental documentaries that really expose yung nangyayari, and it also helps you understand more. And I know sometimes it's easier to just watch things than read things. So like watching mga environmental documentaries like that, kasi it helps us also see what's happening to people in other countries and from the people most impacted. Kasi ngayon na mahirap pumunta sa mga community, we can just watch the videos and the films where they're being talked to.
Okay. All right. Any shout-outs? You want to say hi to anyone?
Wala na. Hi, Yakap. If you're... I know some of them are watching, so hello.
All right. Thank you so much, Mitzi, for being on Making a Difference and having this conversation with me. Again, I learned from you. Mas nag-widen yung perspective ko. And I hope the viewers also learned a lot as well. Don't forget to follow Yakap Philippines on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Again, Mitzi, thank you so much for being here, and ingat ka always. I hope I get to see you in person when everything is...
Kailan kaya yun, no?
But yes, take care always. Thank you so much, Mitzi. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was a Mitzi Jonelle Tan, again, one of the co-founders and an international spokesperson of Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, the Fridays for Future of the Philippines. So another good and insightful conversation here on making a difference. Now, before I end the show, of course, we have our question of the day. So paki-flash ulit for one last time. Maybe you guys still want to answer the question, and that is, how can you yourself in your own little way promote environmental protection? So I'd like to read a few comments here. Let's start with, okay, meron dito from Lorenzo Sabata. How can I promote environmental protection? And by taking care of our mother nature and maintain our surrounding clean. Let us not destroy our ozone layer by not burning rubber. Let us reuse, reduce, and recycle. Thank you so much, Lorenzo. Then we have Christian Clemente. How can I promote environment protection? By choosing reusable over single use and use fewer chemical products. Thank you so much for that, Christian. And then we also have Tabawan Bongao. Environmental protection starts at home. We should teach our kids in our homes on how to protect our environment. Start them early. Yes. So a while ago, Mitzi was sharing that they were able to reach na rin mga young grade school students. So it's good to start them early for them to be aware, because it's real, it's happening. The heat that we're experiencing now in the Philippines, it's because of climate change. So, and then last, we also have from MGSC ARC, we can promote environmental protection by being active in our community, attending meetings about environment issues, practice and follow rules given by the government, like continue to segregate our garbage and be disciplined. That is what actually Yakap is doing. So again, if you want to attend any of their talks, support their projects, you can check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and their website as well. So that's it for today's episode in commemoration of Earth Day. Again, you please don't forget to follow Making a Difference here on Facebook and on Instagram as well. You can also watch my other episodes on YouTube, on VAT1 Radio Manila's YouTube channel, and you can check out our other shows as well. So we have a few more shows under VAT1 Radio Manila. You can check them out on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So that ends today's episode. So for just an announcement, next week, since it's May 1, it's a holiday, we won't be having a live episode here on Making a Difference, but we'll be back the next week. So I think that should be May 8th. So because it's Labor Day on May 1, so no live episode, but we will have a rewind episode, so you can watch, you can still watch on Saturday. And that's it. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe. So please don't forget to wear your face masks and face shields when you head out. Also practice social distancing and just stay protected, you guys. I'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. Bye, everyone.
The program for the millennials that will showcase young professionals' work, aspirations, and successes in doing what they believe is right, progressive, and inclusive. Making a difference. Making a difference. Join them as they discover the path to self and societal fulfillment while making a difference. Hosted by empowered and cool millennial Erika Mison. Together with her cool millennials, they will be making a difference. Every Saturday, 3 p.m. Philippine time. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.